All right, I've been waiting for this book for a long time. The Moon Knight Epic Collection, Butcher's Moon. We weren't sure if they were just going to stop it at Volume 3, which is where Doug Moench's end run ends, but it goes to 84 to 90. And this collects a smattering of stuff. You get a Moon Knight 1 through 6 miniseries, Marvel Team-Up, some Marvel Fanfare stuff, Mark Spector Moon Knight 1 through 7, which is the beginning of a new series by Chuck Dixon. That lasts a long time. That's kind of his one that goes through the 90s for a bit. And then you get a couple other little smatterings in there. Very interesting, and then some very different takes on Moon Knight. So the Marvel team-up is pretty self-explanatory. You get a little team-up between him and Spider-Man, and this deals with some like Chinese gangs, and it's actually a lot of fun. Really good stuff right here. High-quality 80s fare Marvel, which is great. And then it gets in this miniseries, The Fist of Khonshu. And the first issue is a little longer. It's by Alan Zelenetz with Chris Warner on pencils. Again, 80s fare. They kind of restate the origin at first, and then we go back. And this deals with like Marlene. She's like, she doesn't want him to be Moonlight at this point, and like he's going to be selling off his statue. Very clean pencils. There's not a lot of background to it and all that you can see, but it is very clean. But then he kind of gets wrapped up. These like priests come to him and forces him to be Moon Knight, and he ends up traveling on an adventure to deal with this stuff, and rescues the whole statue. Marlene does the whole "I'm never going to be with you again if you don't stop being this Moon Knight." And then he's starting to get visions from these priests and all that, and this is where it also starts. This is the beginning of. These are my split personalities. It's a psychotic disorder sort of thing. That was not alluded to in the runs before this. This really starts right here. Now, each one of these issues, despite this being a miniseries, are very much like the priests send him on a mission. It makes me wonder if this guy was reading Mike Barron's stuff, because The Badger, Mike Barron's indie work, was about a split personality guy, and then like there were people like Nexus gets sent on missions through visions, like, and those missions like go to kill somebody who's bad or something like that, and these priests are kind of like Nexus, and then this whole setup's kind of like Badger. It's very interesting. It was really fun to read. I don't personally like the take that Moon Knight is a mentally ill person or whatnot. I kind of roll my eyes at that, but I like it when he's just like a kind of a good spy. It's when he's dealing with like some pirates. And then Joe Duffy actually takes over the script on this one, which is odd. So I don't know why it changed. You get kind of a Ditko-esque heads here in this one. Chris Warner on the art. Like I said, very clean 80s house style. Nothing super exciting about it, but it's not bad either. The Joe Duffy deal is a bit feels very different than the first 4 issues, and then we get another one, Jim Owsley, with Mark Beecham on pencils, and Mark Beecham's pencils are not quite as crisp as what we saw before. In this one, he goes to see a lady, he's like in Haiti or something like that, or Jamaica, I can't remember, and there's some voodoo stuff going on, and drug dealing, and she's like supposed to be like a federal agent, but she's all hyped up on drugs and all that too, and she ends up getting killed at the end of it. Very, very weird deal. Now that all goes away, and we get these like standard one-off Moon Knight stories in Marvel Fanfare. I don't even know who wrote this. It is by Ann Nocenti. So good stuff. Brent Anderson on the art here. And this is really solid. I really enjoyed this Marvel Fanfare. This is a pretty long one. But you get this kind of like weird city where like there's this film going on, and it turns out like it's kind of like a big trouble that the filmmaker's actually causing at the end of the day. It's pretty fun. We get a quick Moon Knight backup in this solo Avengers book here. And then back to a couple of Marvel Fanfare stories, just random. Joe Duffy back on the gig for this. Oh man, this is when they're dealing with a band, a super teen band, and it turns out they're like made a deal with a bad guy because they're actually old people pretending to be teens, and because of that they like suck on the life of the youth. Ha 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 ha. There you go. We get one more Marvel fanfare book, and this is just a standard knockdown of a terrorist, and that's it. Now we get to the meat of it, where Moon Knight changes yet again. So we had that like Khonshu deal. Now we get Mark Spector Moon Knight, and I actually talked to Chuck Dixon about this. I'm like, that's a wild difference between like the last miniseries and then this. And he actually was told that editorial told him just to make him a secret agent spy type, like kind of special ops guy, and not to delve into that stuff whatsoever. So you notice he goes by Charles Dixon here. That's kind of an older here. And that's it. Carl Potts was the editor on this. Very 80s house style and very Chuck Dixon style. So very familiar for me. I mean, I've read a lot of Chuck Dixon books over the years, and his Batman. I love the coloring on this. It's just got that like nighttime glow to it. And again, we have General Bushman showing up. And he was part of, like, trying to kill Mark Spector back in the day. And but now he's back, and he's like the head of his own African country. And Marlene's kind of there, and she's mad because Moon Knight's got a maid cook who dresses like this for some reason. Thanks, Cheesecake. I'd be mad too if I was Marlene. Oh man. So we get into Moon Knight just action adventures over the course of this. And this one he's kind of staking out the Bushman here at the beginning of this, and then Marlene gets kidnapped. And this is really I love the art on this. I love the storytelling on this. This adds a level of like Rambo style action to Moon Knight that was not in the prior stuff, and that's what it feels like, Rambo style action. Now he goes to Africa to hunt them down after Bushman escapes in the last issue, and he actually does get out with Marlene. They have a big showdown with the bad guy. Look at that big spread. Like, the art here is top notch. I really enjoy this. There's Marlene half naked, as one is, and then Frenchie pulls him out. So then it gets interesting. So there's these break-ins for Mark Spector's stuff, and he doesn't know what's going on. There's a chef still hanging out half naked, and it turns out it's Midnighter, and Midnight is not the same one from the prior issues. He's stealing his stuff, but it turns out he's actually his kid who actually wants to be a good guy, and he wanted to show Mark Spector he could be useful, is what happens. But Black Cat gets caught up in these little heists that are in the part of this, and we don't actually learn what's going on till the end of it, till the end of the story here. So pretty neat little two-parter story where we find our friend Midnight, and he wants to be part of things. And then, for the last two issues, Brother Voodoo comes to town. Pretty odd sort of stuff here, but Brother Voodoo is talking with Mark Spector, and there's some bad hombres hanging out, and they're all zombified, and they need to be stopped, of course, by Mark Spector over the course of two issues. So nice art. I think I think this is probably the highest quality art out of the Moon Knight stuff through this. Just everything looks good. The really detailed. And I didn't love the zombie story that much. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like zombie things as a rule in general. I mean, this was a little different than usual as far as this goes, but like, I mean, my eyes glaze over when I read zombie stuff. It's tough. And you get a little Marvel superheroes thing, which you see Moon Knight meeting in Texas with the gal who ran the diner with her kids and all that before, and she's actually doing well for herself out here. And he comes and sees her, and of course goes and deals with a short problem at that, and then they have their little personal moment. Very very weird one-off. A lot of one-offs in this, but I'm very happy to get to Mark Spector Moon Knight, and I can't wait for more of it. Even though I didn't like the last two issues so much, the start was really solid before that. and we'll see how that develops over the course of things. Overall, I've enjoyed Moon Knight a lot. I really liked the first 3 volumes and have been waiting for these to keep going, and this did not let me down. Overall, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 just because it's a little inconsistent with the character. The editorial seemed to just let people go off in wildly different directions with the character, and it doesn't flow that well because of that. But beyond that, all the stories were kind of enjoyable independently of one another, and that's a good thing. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.